Shabbat shalom. Oh, good to see everyone.
Shabbat shalom on this beautiful day.
Yeah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. We're going to begin in a minute or two. Let people get into our virtual room. But once again, we encourage everyone to go to gallery view, and we can see the faces of our community. That's on the top right of the Zoom page.
So nice to see everyone.
Hello, Rabbi Lazar. Thanks for waving.
This is amazing. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
So I have 6:01, the beauty of staring at a computer. So we're going to begin, but just a little housekeeping. Once again, it's great to see everyone as our community gathers each week at 6 o'clock for Shabbat. But if you're new to our Zoom service, we have the sound of your box off. You are muted because there can't be more than one speaker at a time on Zoom. And then at the very end, we'll kind of release everyone's microphone so we can all wish each other Shabbat Shalom. The chat room, which you'll find at the bottom of your page, is also closed for now, but we'll open it up at times throughout the service when we hope you'll participate in sharing a word or sharing a name. And we hope you'll go to the gallery view at the top right of your screen. One of the reasons we have really valued Zoom as opposed to streaming the service is Zoom enables us to see one another and really experience the strength of our community, something that is sorely missed during these days of isolation. And so it's just really good to see everyone. So what I find myself doing is looking through the gallery and sometimes using the arrow on the page to see the people throughout the community. It's less focused on reading the liturgy, and so you'll only see the liturgy on your screen at specific times during the service. Otherwise, we invite you to join in song as best as you're able, or simply listen. Most importantly, be present and experience the fullness of Shabbat, our day of reflection. And so with that, Cantor, can we begin with the Nigun as we do each week?
Absolutely. This is one compliments of Cantor Zell.
So until we can have more than one person in our sanctuary, we've been having services on Zoom. And what we sacrifice in terms of the auditory experience, we gain in terms of the visual experience. And so it's good to see everyone. Our kind of Zoom greeting for Shabbat Shalom has been a wave to those around us or a heart tap. So if we can greet each other with a wave or a heart tap to those above you, below you, to the right, to the left, we say Shabbat Shalom to each other. Before we begin, I just want to share, as many of you heard last week, I just celebrated my 25th year in the rabbinate. And I've always had a policy for those who don't know that if you can send me a Jewish joke that I've never heard, you win a pizza. It's very hard to do, but I challenge you. But people do send me articles that I've never seen before, and I received an article today, so thank you, Glenda Ganem, about a poll that was conducted this week by the University of Chicago's Divinity School, along with the Associated Press. And it found that almost 2/3 of Americans believe that God is trying to tell us something by imposing this terrible virus upon the world. And so they quoted a man from Pennsylvania, Lance DeJesus, who said, it could be a sign like, hey, get your act together. It just seems like everything was going in an okay direction, DeJesus said. And all of a sudden you get this coronavirus thing that happens, pops out of nowhere. And what's interesting is the poll found that 62% of Americans believed that God, they had two categories, that they either felt strongly or felt somewhat strongly that God caused this virus as a sign to tell us to change our behavior. And before we begin, I found this fascinating because I have to admit, I am in the minority. I strongly believe that God does not impose these things upon our world. God does not want hundreds of thousands of people to die. God does not want our summer camps canceled, or our schools, or our visits with friends, or our connections with family. I think that God wants us to be caring souls and to take life's adversities and to learn from them, to be better people. But God didn't do this. The world faces unforeseen challenges, and our goal is to live lives of blessing, of love, of caring, of concern, to look within and to reach out and to make this world a better place. And so in a world that too often seeks blame and tries to find reasons to explain unfortunate incidents, I hope that we don't blame others, don't blame God, but rather reach into the deepest sense of love within ourselves, reach out to our higher selves. And that's why we gather on Shabbat, to try to become the best people that we can be, the most loving individuals. And so let's welcome the Sabbath together, a deep breath. And Rabbi Sapphire, this week we'll be doing something a little different.
Yes, as we light our Shabbat candles and welcome Shalom, peace of Shabbat, we'll try something a little new. I think a new honor is deserving of not only one person, but a group, a team in our community that we are calling the Congregant Connections team. These are the folks who have been behind the amazing TBE community conversations, and many of you, over 60 of you, participating in Shabbat conversations this evening. So I want to thank our team for putting these together, working so hard so that we may connect to one another. So I'm going to invite them to begin to light their Shabbat candles. And as they do so, I'm going to try something new by spotlighting these community members of ours so that you may join them in their home lighting Shabbat candles together. Thank you to all of you.
Let's join together with the blessing. Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. So I will invite all of you. Thank you to our wonderful teams. Keep up the good work. I'll invite you to join us back in gallery mode to see the wonderful, beautiful faces of our entire community.
So now let's continue welcoming the Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem, singing along with our cantor.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu Barchuni L'Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Kadosh Baruch Hu Zeidchem L'Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh
So this past week, two of our high school students who are actually on this Zoom service, Zach Gondelman and Sarah Schiller, recorded a setting together of Ahavat Olam, a piece of the Friday night liturgy, and posted it on Facebook. And as soon as I saw it, I said, that belongs in our Friday night service. And so we're going to now listen to Zach and Sarah lead us in this prayer.
together. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha, Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chokim u'mishpatim, Otanu imareta. Together on Yalalai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai ya la la lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai.
Shema together.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
And let's read together as we've done each week. Rabbi Sherman, are you able to place the blessing on the screen for us? There we go. Let's read together. We are frightened, God, worried for our loved ones, worried for our world, helpless and confused. We turn to you seeking comfort, faith, and hope. Teach us, God, to turn our panic into patience and our fear into acts of kindness and support. Our strong must watch out for our weak, our young must take care of our old. Help each one of us to do our part to help the spread of this virus. Send strength and courage to the doctors and nurses in the front lines of this battle. Fortify them with the full force of their healing powers. Send wisdom and insight to the scientists working day and night across the world to discover healing treatments. Bless their efforts, God. Fill our leaders with the wisdom and the courage to choose wisely and act quickly. Help us, God, to see that we are one world, one people, who will rise above this pandemic together. Send us health, God. Watch over us, grace us with your love, bless us with your healing light. Hear us, God. Heal us, God. And let us all say, Amen.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivinu,
And so for the tefillah, the main part of the worship service, this prayer, we would typically stand up if you're able, and you're invited to do so, or if you're comfortably seated, just begin to sit with a different intentionality. Perhaps anchor your feet more deeply into the ground, or sit up a little straighter, or move your body to a sense of more awareness of your physical being on this earth. And we'll join together with the words, Adonai Svatai. Oh God, open up our mouths that we may declare your praise.
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
And this time we're going to invite you to share your own words of praise independently, or we're going to open up the chat box and we ask you to share just one word so that we can glimpse these words together as they scroll through. An unexpected joy that you experienced this past week, or two words, but something that surprised you, an unexpected joy, or your own private meditation.
And as we enjoy these blessings, Shalom Rav, prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'yinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav
People typed in some beautiful reasons to be grateful, to feel blessed. We'll have to collect these and publish them through one of our community broadcasts. And now we're going to open the chat room once again, but this time to share names of individuals we're thinking of, those in need of healing, of body, of mind, of soul. We'll hold them close in our hearts, and then we'll join together with the words of Misha Berach.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Nishebeirach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And each Shabbat, as many of you know, we also give thanks to God for the sacred moments we've shared, those God-given times throughout the past week. And since we can't call them out in our virtual sanctuary, if you had a birthday this week, would you raise your hand for us? We want to acknowledge you. I see a few birthdays.
Rabbi, I hear that Joe Pastor has a milestone birthday, 75.
Oh, wow. How about an anniversary? We're getting the month of May. I know that Peg and Alan Miller emailed me that they are celebrating their 40th anniversary. And Marilyn and Stan Becker today celebrate their 60th anniversary. So we say Mazel Tov, and to everyone else celebrating an anniversary.
And
Mazel
Rabbi,
Tov.
Peg and Alan also have a new grandson.
Exactly. Thank you, Cantor. That was my next category.
I'm sorry.
Perfect. Which is, how about the gift of new life in your family? Mazel tov to Peg and Alan, but new grandchildren, new children, or nieces, nephews, friends. So we acknowledge the gift of life. How about perhaps health, or feeling better once again after a struggle with perhaps the virus, or perhaps just the anniversary of health, of an illness that you survived long ago. Well, we have so many moments to share. Once again, if one is upcoming and a little unique, we invite you to email it to us and we'll share it with the community. But let's hold these moments in our hearts, thinking back since last Friday night to this Friday night, those unexpected joys, those moments of blessing that we don't want to forget, we don't want to lose. And so we'll hold them tight and thank God with the words of Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. אמן.
So Rabbi Sherman, who has been working very hard with our Gan Elohim, Yaldenu, young family community, and also our adult engagement programming, which has been incredibly robust these past couple of months. I just want to thank you, and I'm glad that you'll be sharing words of Torah with us this evening.
Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. So I wanted to speak a little bit about this week's Torah portion, Bahar B'chukotai. So we have largely been standing still for 9 weeks. Well, not exactly my children or my family, but we have been home for a long time. 9 weeks to think, to fear, to pull out our hair, to read, understand, laugh, breathe, and grow. We've had 9 weeks of separation, and at the same time, 9 weeks of remarkable creativity. 9 weeks of being concerned about what the future may bring or be, while at the same time opening our eyes to moments of seeing blessings in the small, ordinary things. Some of us have been sick, and some of us have mourned remotely for a loved one. This has truly been an extraordinary moment in history. And many of us have found that this has been a time of information overload. In some cases, too much news, bad news. In other cases, finding comfort in some good news. This surely has not been easy for anyone. And I'm continually full of gratitude for all of those who are making it possible for us to remain at home. And you see, the Israelites in the Torah have also been situated much like us, not moving, just taking in information, trying to absorb it, seeing where it fits into their lives. See, the Israelite people have been standing or sitting or staying or sheltering in place for a very long time. This week, as we conclude the book of Leviticus, I am struck by the fact that the last time the Israelites moved was 15 parshas ago, as they passed through the sea into the barren landscape and approached Mount Sinai. And so the last verse of this week's Torah portion, Bahar B'chukotai, reads, Ela hamitzvot, asher tziva Adonai et Moshe el bnei Yisrael Bahar Sinai. These are the instructions that Adonai gave Moses for the Israelites on Mount Sinai. See, the Israelites are still at Mount Sinai. Even after the 10 Commandments, they've continued to receive wisdom on how to construct a tabernacle and mitzvot to guide their lives. Next week, we move into a book called Bamidbar, literally named Into the Wilderness. And so if walking into the wilderness is the first move after Sinai, then our parshiot this week conclude the covenantal agreement between God and Israel. This week, we get our final instructions. We internalize them. And next week, we take them into the wilderness. So this week, I've been thinking a lot about what I've learned in these last 9 weeks, what life instructions I have received. In what ways have I grown, and what will I take with me as I move into Bamidbar? I surely have learned a lot about Zoom. I've brewed plenty of coffee. I've become a kindergarten and preschool teaching assistant and experienced the impact of multiple daily family meals. I've also learned the power of really looking into the faces of the people in our lives who we love, who bring us great meaning and inspiration, even through a screen. And in my family, we've learned that freshly baked challah makes a real difference in how we prepare for Shabbat. And collectively, we've also learned to see beauty and blessing in small things, transforming ordinary into holy, Throughout these weeks, I've spoken with many of you, exploring what has changed in your lives and how you've grown. And I've heard some powerful thoughts I want to share. We've become more patient and learned to give up control. We've learned how it can be hard to be self-motivating when things are grim, and the importance of setting a schedule to ensure time to do fun things and the things that are meaningful to us. We've also learned how liberating it can be when our busy schedules are freed up. Of course, we have witnessed the fragility of our world and experienced the impact of this pandemic on companies and employees who have lost their jobs, whether directly or indirectly. Some of us have even been forced to consider what next steps we'll take if our career paths shift, or we cannot return to a job we had before. This time has reinforced how interconnected we all are, how dependent we are on the small and large connections that keep our lives and routines intact. And one member of our community shared, "I think overall, the most unexpected thing this time has taught me is to focus on the basics. Find the DNA of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. For the success of everything else depends on how well you attend to that." And I read an article this week that really resonated with me around the idea of simplifying the way we live and view, and the way we simplify the way we live and view the world, truly getting to the DNA of everyday living. The author Sabrina Ora Mark talks about how what mattered in February hardly seems to matter now. She says, "The new world order is rearranging itself on the planet and settling in. Our touchstone is changing color. Our criteria for earning a life, a living, are mutating like a virus that wants badly to stay alive. I text a friend, I can't find bread flour. She lives in Iowa. I can see the wheat, she says, growing in the field from outside my window." So the author writes, "I watch a video on how to harvest wheat. I can't believe I have no machete. I can't believe I spent many hours begging universities to hire me. I forgot to learn how to separate the chaff from the wheat and gently grind." When we focus on the basics, we find that we can exist when there's no more flour. We become more flexible in our expectations and more creative in our solutions. And so as we begin to start the conversations about moving into the next phase, into the wilderness ahead of us, we must remember how we stood in this moment, in this new moment of Sinai, the moment when we received our instruction. Perhaps the lessons that have been there all along, but we were just too distracted to focus on them. And so in this process, of course, we must find compassion for others and ourselves as we navigate the changing dynamics all around us. And so when we find ourselves beyond the wilderness, or at the very least deep within it, we might realize that we too are different. Being able to internalize what we have learned will be extraordinarily helpful as we walk into and through the next phase of life, no matter what it will be. We are the same people, yet entirely renewed, albeit tired and restless. The Israelites absorbed all the instruction, the same lessons and principles that we have today. They made it their own, walked forward, and so will we. The text concludes, "These are the instructions that God gave to Moses for the Israelites on Mount Sinai." So I want to know, in these last 9 weeks, how have you found connection with the basics, the most fundamental? What have you learned, and how have you grown? And I want to know, so I want you to email me, because I want to reflect these lessons back with our community. And I hope you will. And at the completion of a book of Torah, we recite the words, "Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek." Be strong, and let us be strengthened. And so as we conclude a book this Shabbat, may we find blessing and strength in this time of stillness. And may we clarify our instruction so that when we move forward, we continue to focus our attention on that which has become and has always been sacred and holy. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Beautifully taught, Rabbi. You've captured the blessings and the challenges. And one of my favorite poets is Leah Goldberg, who in her poem Lamdani talks about these blessings in life, something as simple as the mystery of a withered leaf, ripened fruit. And so I'd like to share this as a piece that complements your words. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, unripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew my days, lest my day be as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Lamdani Elohai, Varech v'hitpalel, Lamed et siftotai, Bracha v'shir Hallel.
Thank you, Cantor. We're now going to continue with words of Mourner's Kaddish, thanking God for those lives that shaped us, but are those who are no longer physically present on this earth. And if you are observing a yard site, the anniversary of the passing of a loved one, or are currently within the period of mourning, meaning if you've lost a parent during the past 11 months or an immediate family member during the past 30 days, we invite you to rise at this time or raise a hand so that we can acknowledge you as mourners in our midst. And let me also read those members of our community or relatives of members who have passed during the past 30 days. Murtis Feynman, Harold Garber, Ruth Golub, Robert Gould, Rita Kaplan, Francis Leibowitz, Adam May, David Pesselman, Bud Rose, Sherman Starr, Irving Walk, Alan Woolman. I also mentioned these individuals whose yort site is this evening and I've been asked to read. Mark Brustman, Samuel Rosenblatt, Ellen and Albert Plone. And let us think of all of those individuals we remember. You can type their names in the chat room. As I invite the mourners in our midst to join with me at home in the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Rabbi Sherman, if you'll place these words on our screen as we say together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach rotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'grusha b'richu, Le'ela minko birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, Ta'amiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'yal kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom
Rabbi Sapphire, counting of the Omer and some announcements before we make Kiddush and free up everyone for the highlight of wishing each other Shabbat Shalom.
Yes, let's start with our announcements first. Tomorrow, Shabbat morning, 10 a.m. Torah study. We hope you have a beautiful day, and we will conclude Shabbat together as a community at 6:30 p.m. with a community Havdalah. Sunday morning, we are very excited to gather all of our families with kindergartners through fifth graders in our learning programs or day school programs for a live assembly at 10:40 a.m. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you join us for that. We have many, many programs and learning opportunities and gatherings this week, but I want to call special attention to our next community forum that will be on Thursday evening, a chance to gather, hear from our leadership, our clergy, and our staff about our TBE online opportunities right now, as well as our next steps towards regathering, God willing, someday that we can see in the future. I also want to mention this week, actually Shavuot coming up, and you can check your e-blast for details for an evening community celebration, confirmation celebration, as well as traditional to study into the evening on Shavuot. So we are thankful to some lay leaders and Rabbi Sherman who will helping to lead us in a study that evening as well. So that means that we are almost through the counting of the Omer, as Shavuot is that pinnacle of 7 weeks of counting. So we are almost there. So let us count this evening, and we will start with the blessing cantor.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who commands us to count the Omer. Hayom shiv'a u'shloshim yom shehem chamisha shavuot u'shnei yamim la'omer. Today is 37 days in the Omer, which is 5 weeks and 2 days.
So before we make Kiddush and Cantor, perhaps you can get your Kiddush cup or challah. I just want to say I see people from all over the country together. It's so good to see you from New Jersey, from Florida, New York, Minnesota. Emily, I do see you there from California, connecting. Lots of members of our community throughout the land. So it's great to see all of you. Next week, we're hoping that more than one clergy will be in our building at the same time, maybe a step in a different direction, which will be nice. But I'm thanking our re-entry committee for really thoughtfully exploring the safest ways to begin to re-enter our building slowly and carefully. Let us now make Kiddush together. Who's leading us? Hey, Cantor Safran, here we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'achava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikraye kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'achata v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadosh HaShabbat Amen.
L'chaim, l'chaim. And let's see, I see the Sapphires and the Shermans. Will you both lead us? We'll have both families. Let's see how this works on Zoom.
Go ahead, Rabbi Rachel.
1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shalom, everyone.
Huge congregation.
This one just doesn't taste that
Your bow tie.
I'll try this side.
And
What's up, Barack Obama?
hey, how are you? Hey, thanks. Are you well?
Talk.
He's well. Great
Great
report.
Hey.
My name is Jeff.
What's his name?
Everybody.
Hey.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you for everything.
Hi, Phyllis. Bye,
Drop
Phyllis.
it out now.
Everybody. Of the
Nancy.
Alice.
Did you see
No problem, Bloom.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Well, you can't focus fast enough to see everybody.
Hi,
Carter's
Clover.
got granddaughter on there.
Too, so
Yeah,
all of a
yeah,
sudden-
right. And people drop out so that screen moves.
I would like to order
Who? Link.
Mission Millers. Hi, Daniel Bloom. What's up, Daniel Bloom? Why you play guitar?
and I would like to add to this, please.
Now on the gallery.
I can't read it.
Thank you so much for all that.
You can't see that?
Hi, Goldie. Birthday, Sunday.
You have to leave.
Yeah, I'll make a salad.
One.
Yeah.
Hello?
Thank you for the reminder earlier.
Hi, where are you? I didn't see you. I was
Hi, Julie. Nancy.
Three.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All back.
12,
Bye,
20.
Ted.
I'd like, I don't get, the trying hearing it.
Susan and Bob.
Young rabbi, not the woman,
Thanks,
the
see you
man.
soon.
Who's that?
Julie, what are you doing?
Definitely tracking the storm for you and we'll come down there.
Bye, shalom to all of you.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, Rabbi Lazar.
Hello, Bud.
Bye.
How are you?
It's Easter
How you doing, bud?
Hi, Amy.
an American accent in his Hebrew.
Not too long.
How these people are getting on. Either iPad or iPhone. It always trumps out in the middle, and I somehow got it back.
Hi, Rabbi Lazar.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Rabbi Lazar.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
How are the Belskis doing?
Oh, we're doing well, thank you.
Thank God for that.
Janet came
Very
over
well.
this morning. Janet Selden
Thinking
helped me
about
get
you.
in. We couldn't get in, so it's not necessarily this operation.
Julie and Mark made a challah.
I know. What?
Nancy Delsky.
Hi. I don't know. She came over. She couldn't get it started, so I wasn't able to play this morning, but I played this afternoon.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Jeff. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
What is the graduation going to be like? And Shavuos graduation. Children's brains aren't fully developed until their mid-20s, and marijuana has been shown to impact brain. Your synagogue, the Shavuos, and increase